concept is that you start with a lobby, if you will, just like you would at a live trade show in Vegas. And once you walk into the lobby, instead of walking into a booth, you're going to click into a booth. Once you're in a vendor's booth, they have the ability to show their wares just like they would at a live trade show. They can show us in a video, they can, YouTube video, they can show us in just slideshows or their catalog, whatever they want to do. And you can enter into a virtual chat room with them. And it really is no different than walking into their booth.
Welcome to Peer Talk, a dialogue with business owners just like you. Peer Talk conversations run the gamut of business challenges facing owners today. The host of Peer Talk is Dan Crowley, founder and owner of Peer Executive Groups, which provides a safe space for owners to share their experience, grow their businesses, and learn from their peers.
Okay, welcome to Peer Talk. There are a number of great business owners out there, just like yourself, who would love to share their experiences with you, and we hope to give them a voice. Today's Peer Talk episode is sponsored by Rouse Analytics, the rental industry's exclusive source for benchmark rate and utilization data. You make critical purchasing, sale, and pricing decisions every day that affect your profitability. Accurate, actionable information from Rouse empowers you to make those decisions with confidence. Our guest today on Peer Talk is Jeff Roberts, the president of City Rentals in Ontario, California, as well as the current executive director for the California Rental Association. Jeff has been with City Rentals since 1976. That's 45 years now going on. And he's been a longstanding board member with the California Rental Association, then moved on into the executive director post. The California Rental Association is a nonprofit trade association representing the equipment and party rental industry since 1946. CRA is governed by a board of directors composed of 17 rental center members plus 5 associate members. The member-led committees are charged with acting in the best interests of the association and shaping CRA's programs and policy proposals. The association staff is directed in these efforts by Jeff, the executive director. Welcome to Peer Talk. This is Dan Crowley. We have a very special episode for you today. Jeff Roberts is here from City Rentals, who is also the executive director at the California Rental Association, and is getting ready for the big show coming up this week. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. Awesome. Well, we're so excited about this week coming up here. And, before we get into California Rental Association, let's talk a little bit about City Rentals and how you got into the rental industry and how, you got involved with City. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your origin story?
Sure. I can tell you City Rentals started in 1968, and I started in 76. It was a part-time job for me while I was in high school. And I'm that cliche guy that you hear about every now and then that started out as a janitor and ultimately worked his way up to owning the company. And my wife and I bought in 1997. So in between that time, from janitor to truck driver, dispatcher, and mechanic, pretty much every position possible. And now here I am, fast forward, as a president and owner of City Rentals.
Wow. How many employees do you have there?
There's a total of 15 of us at City Rentals today.
Oh, wow. Excellent. And are you spending much time on the counter still?
Sadly, no. I strategically placed my office where I can be right next to the counter and hear and see everything that goes on, but I'm not writing as many contracts as I once did. No, sir.
What is it with you guys and wanting to be on the counter? That's so funny. It's like I used to have a collision center, and I remember I always enjoyed, just dusting in the shop, using the broom, right? So I guess the counter is your comfort spot, right? Something like that.
There it is. That's where you're at the front line, where you get engaged with the customer for the first time. And you're right. Something about it that certainly attractive and like a magnet draws you to it.
Oh, that's great. So tell us about, now I know you got involved a while back with California Rental Association. So Tell us a little bit about what that journey was like. I remember, a couple years back was when I first started interacting with your association and your board. So tell us about how you got involved with the board and everything.
So we've been involved with the CRA for several years as a company because we realize the benefits of a social group such as it is and the benefits of interacting with other rental yards in our area. and having friendly adversaries rather than hostile ones. So we started out with the yard parties back in the day and the territory meetings, if you will, and some of the trade shows that went back. And then at some point, was invited to be onto the board. And, it's one of those deals, be careful what you volunteer for, because once you get on there, the CRA is very good about delegating. So I started on the CRA and worked my way onto the executive board, and slowly but surely worked my way up the ladder. And City Reynolds and myself are reaping the benefits along the way.
Oh, excellent. And how long have you been on that executive board, or were you on that board?
There are 2-year terms. So on the executive board, I started out as a treasurer, and then you go 2 more years as the vice president, and then 2 years as the president, and then normally you go 2 years as the chairman.
Oh, that's interesting.
And our secretary, we're fortunate to have an excellent secretary who's been on that position. We won't let that person leave us. So we haven't had that role switch in a while. It's ultimately an 8-year commitment. So 8 years on the executive board.
So 8 years, wow. And I know who you're speaking of. You're speaking of Dave Dworshik, who is one of our members in our Platinum group.
That is correct.
A number of other, and he's in Oregon, but there's a number of California operators in that particular peer group. So, but yeah, I know his talents as a secretary. You don't want to lose that and have to start that over. So I get it.
No, sir. He is a great asset for our organization. Very, very glad to have him.
And then, and so, tell us a little bit about how this whole transition came about. Obviously, the sad passing of Dale. Dale is a good personal friend and of mine as well as yours. Obviously, you spent a ton of time with him. So tell us about how that all went down and how you guys decided to pick up the pieces and go from there.
Yeah, the transition really started a few years ago. One of our committees, amongst a few of them, is the Long Range Planning Committee, and we sat down and we talked about what that would look like when Mr. Blackwell and Vicki, his wife, were ready to step down from that position. And long story short, we came up with and the board agreed to that I would assume that position in 2023 was our original plan, and with the proper training and the succession plan would have happened in 2023 with my wife and I stepping in where Dale and Vicki were. And you're correct. Unfortunately, with the sad passing of Mr. Blackwell, that we had to put that on a fast forward. So that was April last year, and then I assumed the position in May of last year.
And I got to tell you, the fact that you guys had a long-term plan is very impressive. Very rarely can we get organizations such as yours, associations, or even the rental companies that we work with in peer groups to look at their legacy and understand, that at any time things can change, whether it be somebody steps down from a position or whether it be, an untimely passing or something like that. So that's great that you guys had that built in. Was that always there, or was that something that came up?
No, it's been there for several years, and we're fortunate that several of our board members have assumed that. It's chaired by Patricia Saris, one of our board members, and we probably had that in place. I'm thinking 15, maybe even 20 years. It's just an ongoing process, and it could be anything, not necessarily the switching of the half of the executive director, but just where we want to see ourselves 10 years from now or 20 years from now. So we were very fortunate to have that in place when Dale passed. That is for sure.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. So what was 2020 like for you guys? Obviously, you're in a hot spot there with city rental and obviously all your other California associate members in that area. What has it been like for you guys personally in your company, and then again with the association?
I can speak for City Reynolds. We were very fortunate when it first happened, and they did a shelter at home order in the state of California. That would have been third week of March, and we were deemed by the city that we're in Ontario as an essential business, and they qualified us mainly because we were a supplier to the supply chain. So some of our customers are taking care of the food industry and the the hospital industry. So our local city was able to deem us as an essential business, and we were able to keep the doors open. We did shorten our hours initially for about 6 weeks to be socially conscious of our fellow, small businesses in our neighborhood. But the truth of it is, it really didn't slow down. If anything, it might have ticked up a little bit for us in 2020. The way we do business, of course, has changed. We're very conscious about social distancing, the mask, the plexiglass went up right away, and we were fortunately. I can't say we planned it, but about a month prior to that, we'd just gone paperless. So in January, at the January trade show 2020, we committed to going paperless with our supplier or our counter program, and so it was in place and ready to go when it made sense.
What's your management software?
It's Point of Rental.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say it had to have been Point of Rental, but I know everybody's moving that direction right now. But our Point of Rental members certainly have had a good movement over to paperless, which is great for you guys. Now, in City Rentals, did you notice a change in contractor versus homeowner business? Did it pick up? Did you get more homeowner during the COVID?
And I laugh a little bit because we somewhat feel guilty whether or not the guy rototilling his backyard on the weekend should be essential or not. And it's a question we ask ourselves. But yeah, our homeowner business picked up and has stayed up since March of last year. And it's a lot of that. As well, we're kind of a split. We're one of the last general equipment yards, so we do homeowner, industrial, and contractor. But definitely the homeowner on the weekend has picked up.
Gotcha. And did you do you feel like anything has happened with your company regarding your asset classes for next year? You're going to change anything around equipment or just refreshing?
We're mostly, our classification has stayed pretty consistent over the years. We like to stay as state of the art as and progressive as possible. In our local area, we're surrounded. We call it Warehouse Row, so we're continually adding to our reach and our high reach and our forklift inventory, and we're actually adding to the inventory as well as continually upgrading it. And I'd say the one thing that we did change a little bit in Southern California, they're really pushing for battery-powered equipment, anywhere from a lawnmower and a hedge trimmer all the way up to currently trying to pass rules for our forklifts to be all battery-powered. So we did add some inventory at the last trade show of our battery-powered, we'll call it landscape equipment.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I see that as a trend happening everywhere. Also, obviously the equipment has to catch up, but it seems like it's moving that direction in almost every asset class. So tell us about CRA I call it CRA. I know we have the Canadian Rental Association north of us, our friends who also are part of the peer group. So we'll say California Rental Association organization. So tell us a bit about, when you guys met during the quarantine period, did you shut down all your initiatives? Did you still do some of the things you do? I don't think you did your normal travel, because don't you always have like where you guys kind of caravan out in some campers and stuff? Or
correct. So we have 4 board meetings a year, quarterly meetings, and they're spread about the country. We're on the southern and the west coast, and we were unable to do April's in July, so we switched, like many other people, to the Zoom platform. And while I'll tell you it wasn't my favorite, I equate it to the crescent wrench. It's not necessarily the best tool for the job, but it'll get it done. And so we switched to a Zoom platform, had full participation, and we maintain our normal schedule of committee meetings and then, of course, our board meeting. And we were able to do it in October. We met and had a live board meeting with, I'd say, 75% of our board attended. It was a different world. We were socially distanced. We were masked up. We were 6 feet apart, like I say, in the board meetings. Our normal dinner that night was not what you would expect. And it happened, but we certainly did change the way we do business. And now here we are back in January with our board meeting coming up next week, and we're right back to a Zoom platform.
Wow, yeah. And it does feel like, until we get the vaccine out there into more people's hands, it's going to be quite a challenge the next 6 months. So you're going into this new year. You're starting the year off with a bang. You made a decision to pull the show back from Vegas. We were all excited to go. It was going to be our first time we all get out and see each other. And man, I can't even tell you the amount of operators around the country that we're gearing up for that. But I think you guys made a good decision and decided to make it virtual. And certainly some really cool things happening with this show. Why don't you tell us about, obviously this is a big part of the first quarter is this virtual show. So why don't you walk us through some of the pieces of this?
Sure. I'll start with a shout out to Exhibitor Connect, is who our third party that's helping us put this virtual rental rally trade show together. And the concept is that you start with a lobby, if you will, just like you would at a live trade show in Vegas. And once you walk into the lobby, instead of walking into a booth, you're going to click into a booth. And once you're in a vendor's booth, they have the ability to show their wares just like they would at a live trade show. They can show us in a video. They can, YouTube video. They can show us in just slideshows or their catalog, whatever they want to do. Then you can enter into a virtual chat room with them. And it really is no different than walking into their booth. Once you enter it, you can be in there by yourself and the vendor, or there might be 2 or 3 other attendees that are in there at the same time. And again, talking about whatever it is that they're trying to sell. And then we can set up appointments to do the same thing. There'll be contests available with each vendor that wants to put out some type of prize for visiting their booth. And there'll be, and once you get to their booth, you can connect to their Instagram, their Facebook, any of their social networking links that they may have. So that the concept, and I got to say, I was very, very pleased with what it looks like. The test will be next week, of course. Where some of the things that we do at our live trade show historically has been a cocktail party the night of, the first night, and some roundtable discussions, an education component. They're going to try to do that next week, encourage everybody to try to make it there. It's going to be a virtual cocktail party where we're going to have I'll leave a little bit of surprise entertainment we're going to try to engage people with. And then on Wednesday, we're going to try 3 roundtables as well. In the lobby, there's one of the components called a networking lounge, where it allows up to 50 operators to go in there. And we can all go in there and we're going to discuss the obvious, coping with COVID in the rental world. We're going to have another one on general open discussion, reviewing the pros and cons of a virtual trade show to see what people's opinion is on it. And then another exciting thing for the future of the CRA is a group we call the California Young Rental Professionals. And we coined them the CYRP. They're going to host a roundtable as well on Wednesday.
Wow. So much activity. That's going to be something we're excited about participating. We ended up with, I think we had 4 meetings in person in California this past year in 2020. It's a bit of a miracle that we pulled that off, but I was able, we're based out of Pennsylvania, even though we work nationally, but California has the most amount of peer executive group members of any state. And so we found ourselves in everywhere from Chico to Monterey to San Jose and Paso Robles, and actually got in a little time down in Los Angeles, visiting some operators down there. So believe it or not, even though it was a COVID year and we weren't supposed to be going to too many places, I was able to spend quite a bit of time in California now, hoping to connect with a number more California operators through the virtual trade show coming up. And I see, everything from these roundtables, which are fascinating, and even have a lounge, and there's, different contests and things like that. So, we encourage all members of the California Rental Association, as well as all peer executive group members, to make sure that you stop in, check it out, see what you think about it, and certainly provide feedback, because if it works, it works, and we might be able to get away with doing it again at some point. So CRA is governed by a board of directors composed of 17 rental center members, plus about 5 associate members. And are you able to stay engaged with them, Jeff? Is it hard to stay in touch with those people?
No, it's not at all. We're all able to stay engaged, and it's a tight knit group to begin with. We've when it first happened, there's another a connecting thing called GroupMe. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yeah,
all of our board signed up there, and night and day, 24/7, you can just reach out and ask a question, or even if it says, "Hey, what are you doing today?" And we talk back and forth on that. Of course, we've been doing the Zoom platform meetings, and it's been a tight knit board before the COVID virus setting in. So it's yes is the short answer. We are staying in close contact with all of them.
and any guess as to the number of members that you have in the California Rental Association?
There's probably active members between 400 and 500 yards, and they're membership, and it's been higher. Of course, it's been lower over the years. Our goal is to kind of broaden that out a little bit, and we're also realizing moving forward, it's really a collaborative effort to benefit all of our customers. So we're excited this year to affiliate ourselves with Peer Executive Group for one, and very excited that the American Rental Association and their folks are going to help collaborate to a certain extent on our virtual trade show, and allow their members to join us as well.
That's excellent. Yeah, I'm it's been amazing since this has happened in quarantine. The way that the American Rental Association has pivoted, and you guys have pivoted, and your ability to continue to move forward and serve your members, it's an incredible thing. And I know there's nobody questioning the value of membership at this point. It's just you're giving them so much, so it's a great thing. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming week. Any other mentions on things you're planning for the upcoming year, 2021? Or you just have? Yeah, go ahead.
I can say that typically we do quarterly territory meetings, and we'd like to hold them either at our equipment rental yard and get the local people to attend that. We do that after hours at somebody's yard or at one of the vendors. We look forward to promoting those as soon as we can gather again. We have an annual golf tournament every year down in Corona. We passed on that last year, but we look forward to trying that again next year. Probably the first week in November is what we're scheduled for. And then pretty exciting this year, and we're still hoping to pull it off. This is the 75th anniversary of the California Rental Association. And so we're planning a Diamond Jubilee Gala event. It was supposed to happen live next week in Vegas. Obviously won't, but we're still we're going to discuss that next week and put that in the plan too for 2021.
Wow, excellent. Well, I have to tell you, we appreciate you coming on the show and sharing what's happening with the California Rental Association. And, I would encourage anybody that's listening to this that is not currently a member of the California Rental Association, absolutely consider it. It's wonderful, even if it's just to come out for the rental rally and having a good time annually at the show out in Las Vegas. It's amazing, and certainly some great offerings from the association. And Jeff, thank you for joining us today on the program.
Very good. Thank you as well, Dan. I appreciate it.
Check in next week for another great episode of Peer Talk. Today's Peer Talk episode is sponsored by Rouse Analytics, the rental industry's exclusive source for benchmark rate and utilization data. You make critical purchasing, sale, and pricing decisions every day that affect your profitability. Accurate, actionable information from Rouse empowers you to make those decisions with confidence.
You've been listening to Peer Talk from Peer Executive Groups, produced and directed by Noah Crowley and hosted by Dan Crowley. Subscribe to this podcast for notifications of future episodes of